Today, Bill Predebon is our trainer. This is a man that embodies the entrepreneurial spirit. He knows what he wants out of life, and he doesn't want to be working for somebody else. He has applied this to his real estate investing business and has become very successful. He is a team leader working out of the Arizona area, and he has a strong feeling and desire to help others build their businesses. And to this morning, he's here to help us. Good morning, Bill. How are you? Was that you, Bill? Hi, Bill. There's something in the background. The voice sounds far, far away and a little bit high-pitched. Um, we can hear you, but it's sounding a little bit different. Anybody else getting a high-pitched sound on that? Bill, it's kind of sounding like Harris says. It sounds kind of like Alvin and the Chipmunks. I don't know what's happening with your microphone this morning. And I can hear the voice, but real often it's hard to discern what you're saying. Let me suggest you just reboot that and come in again. Let's start over and see what happens there. In the meantime, we've been learning with Michael the last 2 days laws of success, and he's been reviewing his book. And really grateful to Michael for the Audible library. I've been listening this week to 2 or 3 books, and I'm sure that you guys have had your favorites there. While Bill is rebooting his computer, Bill, it still sounds kind of like background noise, Bill. I don't know what's going on. What if we turn our mic off and turn it back on, Bill? See if that'll reset something. At any rate, has someone just really quickly here been reading a good book or listening to a good book on Audible that has enlarged your understanding or strengthened your resolve to run a good business? Has anybody got something like that they want to just give us a moment or two until Bill gets his microphone rebooted there?
Does that work, Ron?
Hey, Bill, that sounds perfect now.
Okay.
All right, everybody, it's Bill Predebon. Thanks, Bill.
Yeah, thanks, Ron. Sorry about that. I don't know what to do. I'm pretty computer not very savvy. Right on. Are you ready for me?
We're ready for you. We'll turn it over to you. Thank you very much.
Awesome. So I'm pretty excited, you guys, today. This is gonna be kind of cool. So I want to let's talk about and I'm gonna pop up the chat here so I have it. Let's talk about basically I'm gonna kind of intertwine a start to finish, if you will. Well, I guess a Craigslist ad to a enrollment. And then I'm going to, and I'm kind of going to talk about like my day, if you will, or even a week, a little bit about what I do, and how I have the exact same, I would say, excuses and reasons for not being as successful in Renatus marketing as I want to be, that everybody, in my opinion, everybody else has, right? So it was interesting. I was thinking back. So start out, in my 20s, I skied my whole life. I grew up in Michigan. I skied my whole life, and I was a racer, a national racer, ranked nationally and stuff like that. So, and then I decided against skiing in college, racing in college on a scholarship, and I just went to Michigan State. I actually wanted to play baseball, and I tried to walk on Michigan State. That didn't work out, and then and so I didn't ski in my college days, and I went out to Vail, Colorado after graduating. I was going to spend 1 year there and go to law school, and then I ended up spending 10 years in Vail because I realized I could ski for a living. So I was a pro skier. I got on the mogul tour for a while, and then got out of there in my 20s. It's kind of another story, but I decided I left when I was 30 years old. I got out of Vail and moved to California to start my first business. And if you fast forward, when I started Renatus in 2008, I didn't go to the gym anymore. My hips were really bad. I was diagnosed when I was 34 with some sort of, I don't know, arthritis of some kind in my hips, some sort of predisposed crap. I didn't even believe them really, that I needed hip replacements. And I just had a lot of pain. And over a very short period of time from 2004 to 2006, I pretty much had to stop playing all sports because I just had so much pain. I even had to quit running in 2007. And so for a while, I didn't exercise. I didn't go to the gym. I didn't play any sports. I just focused on business and I wasn't very healthy. Like I thought I was eating healthy, but I really wasn't that healthy. I decided that after a while of the pain that I was in, that I would have to get surgery and have my hip replaced in my right hip and then my left hip. And so I decided that I was going to, and the key word is decided, I decided that I was going to try to get in shape so I could recover quickly from the surgery. I'd heard stories about hip replacements and stuff. So, and I'm only in my 30s. So in 2000, I guess it was 2012, I really started going to the gym. Now here's the correlation, and I'll fast forward quickly. But when I started out going to the gym, my wife and I joined a gym that was a 24-hour one where you had a little key and you just went and worked out on your own. The interesting thing is I didn't go that often, right? I didn't really know how. Even though I was an athlete my whole life, I wasn't a gym athlete. I didn't go to the gym much. My sports didn't really require the gym. I did a lot of dryland training for skiing and stuff and was in good shape as far as endurance goes. And my legs were in good shape, but I didn't lift a lot. I didn't do indoor cardio. I never really had to do that. I just played sports my whole life. So I was unfamiliar with the gym. It was an unfamiliar territory for me. I felt uncomfortable there. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't know what to do. And so when that happens without the knowledge, I tended to not go. And when I was there, I wasn't efficient. I wasn't effective. I looked around a lot. I had a lot of downtime, and my gym regime was poor in quality. And so I decided to join a different gym, which is funny, right? We go from business to business. We try something else, but at least I was in the same field, right? So I went to a different gym and thought it was a bigger gym and thought maybe I would be more motivated there. And I ended up forcing myself to get a trainer. And it's not cheap. I mean, I paid $4,000 for the year for 2 times a week only for an hour at a time. So 2 hours out of the week, I was getting a good workout, right? And then I would try to do stuff on my own the rest of the time. Most of the time, I just did cardio as I was preparing for my first surgery. And then so it's interesting because I was limping in, and I limped into the gym, meaning not literally limping in, but that's true too. Laugh out loud. I didn't go all out, right? I didn't have a trainer 5 days a week. I was going to the gym 5 days a week, but I really wasn't being very effective still. I was only being very effective on a couple of days when I had what you would call a mentor in your business, right? When I had someone there pointing the way and helping me out. And so when I got my first surgery, I came out of that and I had to do physical therapy. So I was kind of going to physical therapy a couple times a week and, trying to do, I quit the trainer because I really didn't think I would need the trainer because I couldn't really be mobile and stuff like that. And I started it on my own. And it was just a slow recovery process, you guys. And so I chose to spend a lot more money with a much better physical therapist, one of the best, right? But it was private pay, $115 an hour. But the trainer was with me, and I was going to my PT 2 to 3 times a week. And all of a sudden, I went from not even be able to really walk yet and tie my shoes after my first surgery to within 2 weeks working with this guy, I was tying my shoes and running a mile. It was a completely different ballgame. And I got back into a trainer. What I did is I looked for another gym. I looked for a gym that I could work with somebody daily, every single day, and work with a group of people. So I found a HIIT gym. And HIIT being high intensity training, but it was group training. Now, mind you, this gym was $300 a month to do group training. But I tried it on my own and it did not work, right? I didn't have that. I didn't grow up in the gym. I remember asking my first trainer, and I loved him. He was a great trainer, Dave. And I said, dude, look at you, man. Look at the shape you're in. How do you do this? He goes, Bill, I've been doing it since I was 20. And he was 52. And so, or 50 at the time. And it puts it in perspective. It's not overnight. Real estate and Renata's business is not overnight success. It is a process. And for many people, many entrepreneurs, it's years and years. But the cool thing is it's not 40 or 50 or 60 years at a 40-hour or 50-hour a week job where you can retire on 40% of your income. The difference is it's 5 or 6 or 10 years where you can have $1 million, you can have more than that, or you can be comfortable, you can have residual income, right? So all of this is possible in a short period of time. If you look at the Scott Rowe and the Mike, the Mitch Nelson and Michael Huggins and these guys and John O'Neill, and the list goes on, Nate, their story is Gary Lawrence. Their story is not overnight, but their story is relatively quick when you're comparing it to a career. So when you fast forward in that gym experience, I was in the best shape of my life. I went on in my first year after my surgery, I ran 13 different races. A half marathon, I ran the Ragnars, I ran Ragnar Trail, I ran all Spartans, the Spartan Beast, I ran the Tough Mudder. I did all of these things after my first year of my hip surgery because of this HIIT training, because I started training every single day at a gym 5 days a week, actually 6 days a week with a group. And not only with a group, but also with a trainer who led the group. The sacrifice was great because it was the hardest workouts. When I first started doing those workouts, I would come home and I was exhausted. I was sore and I felt terrible. And there were times I didn't even want to go because I almost throw up every time I'm there. But over time, that went away. The workouts didn't get any easier. They don't get better. They don't get more enjoyable. Nothing changes. It's all the same. It's still a pain in the ass, and you still got to work it, and you still have the ups and downs, and you still have the possibility of loss in your business and all of these things. You still have all those things but it's much easier. It's much simpler. It's a routine. It's habit. It's not even a choice anymore. It's what I do, right? And so I wanted to start this out with that scenario. Since then, it's my lifestyle, right? What I find is when you go to the gym, like business, when you begin to engage with your affiliate, when you begin to study on the side on your own, watch the classes, listen to the audible books, and you really engage in the meetings, right? In every single meeting that you're offered and every training that you're offered in your community, things become a habit, right? And it becomes a part of who you are, and it begins to define who you are, right? It becomes a part of your life. And so what I found was, my eating habits were constantly changing from 2013 and 14 through today. I find it much more guilt-ridden and much more difficult to eat sweets. I eat a vegan lifestyle. I have for the last 5 years, but regardless of what your diet is or what your type of eating habits are, I find that I don't have time necessarily, or drinking a lot on the weekends and engaging in a lot of unhealthy fried foods does not coincide with going to the gym every day, right? You can't wake up hungover and go to the gym at 7 a.m. and work out like crazy for an hour and a half or an hour, or do whatever you want. You can do it, especially if you're younger, but I'm telling you, it's counterproductive, right? And so you'll find that in your lifestyle with Renata's business and your real estate business, is that it's very true. And I know a lot of you are experiencing this, and I'm preaching to the choir. I'm just reiterating some of the things you already know, of course, but some of you are new and some of you are just learning to experience this and are questioning it. But you'll find that, habits and friends and lifestyle, TV, different shows, different patterns that you are, different parts of you are going to die. They're going to fade out because they don't coincide with what it is you're trying to accomplish. They don't work cohesively with what you're doing in your life, these new changes you're making in your business. I will make this point. It's interesting that, as I started to go to the gym, and even today I go to a new gym. My wife and I bought one of the flips that we live in, that I was flipping down in Arcadia in Phoenix here. And there's a really nice gym that we go to now, a tennis club. And I go to that gym, and there's a lot of wealthy people there, and there's a lot of retired people there, and there's even a lot of older people. I mean, a lot of younger people too, with kids and stuff too. But the point is that most of the people that you see at the gym are like in really good shape. Like, I look around, I'm like, crap, I got to work even harder. Like, these guys are killing me. I'm looking at, some older dudes that are just jacked, and they're in their 60s or 70s or 50s. And I'm like, man, look at these guys, right? Look at these girls, these young girls and these young guys, and they're just in shape. They're putting on more weight than me. And most of the people in the gym are in good shape. And you would think it'd be the opposite, right? You could think, if you're out of shape, you go to the gym. Yeah, that's true too. But it's a lifestyle, and people's bodies change quickly when you start to implement this stuff. It's the same thing with Renatus. Most of the people working their business are making money. Right? Most of the people going to the meeting are making money. Most of the people doing real estate, when you start talking to people in real estate, they're making money because they're doing it. They're taking the action. And it's exactly the same. I don't mean to, I'm not telling anybody to go to the gym. I mean, I kind of am. I think exercise and if you listen to Ron Williams and you study most of the, successful people, there's a lot of balance, right? And fitness is one of those F's, right? Finance, fitness, faith, and family. These things have to be balanced, and they have to be a part of what you do. I'm telling you, when you work out an hour a day or even 30 minutes, whenever it is, you will have energy like never before. And it will take time. It might take 20 straight days. It might take 2 months, but it will become a part of you, and you will notice the difference. And it will affect your business. You will want to be more successful in your business because you're more successful in your life. I mean, think about it with your family and your work, right? When you give it your all at your work, when you're putting in the extra hours, when you're going the extra mile at work, the satisfaction that you feel and that you receive, the acknowledgement, the praise, the rewards, the bonuses, whatever it is at work that you get, when your family is happy, when your kids do well in whatever sports or school event that they do, the play or the extracurricular activities, it's because you helped them with the project. It's because you drove them to the practice. It's because you showed up at school and picked them up. It's because you listened to them. This is your life. It's part of your life. When you're a member of your community or a member of your church, and whatever it is that you do, and you do it well, and you're there every week, and you show up, and then not only do you show up, but you start to meet people, and you start to volunteer at your church or at your community events, and you begin to get recognized, and you begin to, people start to know you, and the priest or the leader of the church or the faith, they begin to appreciate you more, and they acknowledge you, and they recognize you, and they give you praise, and then they share with you in front of the rest of the group, and people get to know you. It's because you're going above and beyond. It's because you're engaging. It's because you've decided, you made a decision that was going to be a part of who you are. And so if Sunday is your church, or Wednesday night is your church, or whatever it is, or if your job is 5 days a week from 9 to 5, there's no sacrifice there. It's not like you skip it. Even when you go out of town, you sometimes will go ahead and try to find a church to go to with your family. When you go out of town, you don't leave your kids behind. You take them with you. When you go on vacation, you do it for them. You save and sacrifice for your children so they can experience this on a vacation. You don't leave them behind. You don't skip it. You don't quit it. You engage it. You bring it with you. Why would you do anything differently with the business that you have? Why would you not engage the same business the same way? It's the same thing. Michael, Keely Austin, everybody listen to Michael Huggins. They listen to the 4 hour, the miracle morning, the 4 hour work week. These routines that we get in, right? And you always hear the beginning to meditate, to listen quietly in the morning, drink some water, right? It's the first thing I do is drink a glass of water before I have my coffee. And then my day starts out with a dog walk. I don't have children. I got married late, and we tried to have children. It didn't work out for us. So I'm blessed with 3 rescue dogs and a rescue cat. And I foster some dogs, and a lot of my extra donations and charity goes to animal rescues, and that's my passion, right? And so I walk my dogs every day. I walk them for a long period of time in the morning, almost at least 40 to 50 minutes. In the summer in Phoenix, it's hot, and so it's uncomfortable. So I get up early. I get up way early in the summer to do it. And it's a routine, and that's my quiet time, right? I bring my phone with me. I can enjoy if I want to. There's not a lot of opportunity to scroll through your phone, but I have the opportunity to have it with me. If I have a quick message I have to send early that I know I won't get a response from because no one's up yet, I can send some contractors some messages. I can send family or friends a message, and I can just enjoy the morning, right, out walking my dogs. It's a good quiet time for me. And then I know that I'm going to come home. I'm going to give them treats and get them water. I'm going to treat my cat because she's waiting for us at the door, and she wants her treats as well. And then I'm going to start my little routine right after that. I'm going to engage in a few activities such as email if I want. Check my daily schedule of what I got going on. I pretty much know it in my head, and then I get ready for the gym, right? What's cool about being able to have some downtime in the morning is, my mom lives in Michigan. My dad lives in Michigan. They live up in the UP where I grew up. And, I call my mom 2 or 3 times a week on my walk to stay engaged with my family. My parents, I was fortunate with my parents and how I grew up. And so it's really awesome to be able to talk to my mom every single week, several times a week. And I call my dad every single Saturday on the weekend because he still works. He's 75. He's worked the same job for, literally for 45 years. And so I get a chance to talk to them every single week. And I talk to my mom. Like I said, it's a part of my routine. And then I go to the gym. And here's the thing about the gym. And I'll bring this back, and you've heard me say this before when I got started with Renatus. Michael shot his TV. I did not shoot my TV or my Xbox. I'm not a gamer. Forget about it. I don't even know how to play a game. I'm kind of fortunate because I'd probably be addicted to that because I have an addictive personality, if there is such a thing. And I'll tell you, what I did do, however, is I had an hour commute to my job as a loan officer and a real estate agent when I got started in Renatus and started studying real estate. And I turned off my radio. For almost 2 years, I didn't listen to the radio. Every once in a while when my wife and I were going somewhere socially, she would turn the radio on. But back then we actually had CDs. We didn't have downloadable MP3s and all that stuff and a smartphone and all that crap. I had to stick a CD in the truck. But I would listen to the CDs, and then I took my laptop to my office, and I was supposed to be writing loans and calling leads on my loans and all that crap. And I would watch the education. I had a desktop with a bigger screen. I'd put the laptop, open it up in front of my computer because my door sometimes would be open in my office and they could see in, or the people would come and go. And I would hide my laptop in front of my desktop, and I would play the education, on the laptop while I was at work, right? And for 2 years, all I did was listen to people like Mark Kohler and Chris Wilson and Tony and Gavin. Gavin McCaleb was our short sales instructor back then, and Bob Snyder in negotiations, and a few Johnny Dessauer. Listen to these guys, right? And that was my life in my car all the time. For a lot of people, and you heard Michael say he was joking around when he said it was easy to shoot his TV. For me, it was an easy transition out of the radio. I listen to music a lot, but I'm not a big, huge music guy. So, for a lot of people, music really gets them going. So, that's a big sacrifice. But sometimes those sacrifices are the greatest that you'll make and will have the biggest difference. When I'm at the gym, music is a real big motivator for me. And so for me to take my iPad, my cell phone, right, and my Beats wireless headphones and turn it into a book or the education was a sacrifice. I used to listen to Pandora or whatever, heart radio, and it would really motivate me at the gym. And now I don't do that. Right? Maybe on Friday I give myself a treat and I listen to music on Friday at the gym, or if I go a lot of times on the weekend and I'll listen to the music on the weekend. But 4 or 5 days a week when I'm at the gym for an hour, I'm listening to, or an hour and a half, I'm listening to a book, or I'm listening to the education. Right? Now, I don't necessarily recommend this to be your study hour, right? Because I'm telling you, it's distracting. You're not really paying attention. But subliminally, sometimes I'll even catch something and I'll rewind it when I'm taking a quick break, and I'll rewind the book or something because I'll listen to somebody. You're not taking notes. You're not fully 100% engaged in it. So it's not a great way to study the education. But nonetheless, it's still a practice that, in my opinion, helps me to refresh and remember and re-engage in some of the education on different strategies that I'm not always involved in all the time, like velocity banking or negotiations, or some of those classes, really good classes to listen to. So, after the gym, you guys, typically, and I'm going to jump into a scenario here. I check the time. Oh, cool, 7:36. I'm going to jump into some training too as I go through this day. What I want to say is, what I want to recognize is that, I have a full-time business, right? And my full-time business, as you know, back then, I just went 100% real estate in 2008, and just threw all caution in the wind. I didn't have a job. The jobs that I had were commission-based anyway, so I quit those jobs and I started focusing on this. And it was tough. I don't necessarily recommend you quit your job at all. But now I have a full-time real estate business. So there's a reason that I'm sure there's more than one, but there's a reason I'm not on the pack, right? There's a reason I didn't make my $75,000 goal last year and get on the pit either, because I have a full-time real estate business and I made a choice, right? I choose, I like to say I work Renatus full-time. My wife would argue that I do work Renatus full-time. I'm a leader here. I don't miss a meeting typically. I host the majority of the property tours on Saturdays. I train on our Super Saturdays every month. I host all of our real estate intensives every month. And of course I do the presentations and I do the mastermind on real estate. So I'm engaged fully in our events here, but I don't sit home and make 4 hours of calls every day like I should, right? If I want to be where I want to be in the marketing in Renatus, I should be doing more. But I continually find myself with a deal here and there, and that deal takes up more of my time. And I spend a lot of my time during the day working on my real estate, driving to the different projects that I manage, dealing with tenants because I manage the majority of my portfolio, including my VRBO, which is pretty simple. My couple of vacation rentals are pretty easy to manage through VRBO, but there's constant communication with tenants and turnover. And so I use the same excuse as you guys do, right? I'm busy. I got a full-time job. You know, I got my dogs I got to walk in the morning. I got this. I go to the gym every day. You know, I gotta have time for dinner and everything, right? So I have the same excuses. I do make it a point, you guys. I make it a point every single day to make calls, right? And that's where I'll get into this. You know, I place a Craigslist ad every 2 weeks minimum. And I place it in Pittsburgh, and I place it in, because I started the Pittsburgh community out there, and I place it here in Phoenix more often than Pittsburgh. And so I constantly always have somebody to call, at least one call a day. And if I don't have a call, I bring my leads since 2016 when I re-engaged with Renatus Marketing. I bring my leads with me, and I bring them everywhere, and they sit on my chair next to me in my truck or my car and whatever I'm driving, and I look at them. And if I've got some dead time and I'm not talking to a contractor or doing a deal, then I am calling somebody. And it's a part-time basis. It needs to go to full-time. I want it to go to full-time. But I'm still making a part-time effort. So if you have a lunchtime at work, you know, if you're not placing an ad or making a call and you don't have people to call during the week, you're going to struggle. It's going to take you. You're not going to quit. You're not going to lose out. You're not missing anything. But it's going to take you longer than everybody else, than anybody else that's doing a day-to-day operations with their Renatus business and making calls. You know, I use Craigslist as one of my major lead generations. And it pulls. My ad pulls all the time. And my students on my team, you know, the ones that do Craigslist, they use my exact same ad, and they tweak it a little bit to make it their own, and they associate me as their partner, and they make it themselves as a partner of mine, and then they place the exact same ad, and it works. But I'll tell you, recently one of my guys is halfway to 5-star, and he got 5-starred off someone that, or he got his first enrollment off someone in Craigslist. But over the last few months, several months, 6 months, 5 months, you know, his leads have been not very good. They've been few and far between. He's not placing the ad as much, and he's discouraged. And he quit. He's like, I'm going to go do this other thing. I'm going to work on this other lead generation. You know, Craigslist, in my opinion, is saturated, and this and that and the other thing, right? And that may or may not be true, but it's ultimately still an excuse. Even if the leads are not good, even if the leads are few and far between, you're still getting leads, and it's still an opportunity for you to learn and grow by calling these folks back. What's interesting is half of my team comes from Craigslist, as you've heard me say before. And will you share your Craigslist ad? Here's a question. Yes, my Craigslist ad. Let me see. I'm gonna recite it here. How do I do this? Hold on one second. I'm actually gonna go to it. Of course, it's gonna do that to me right now. Hold on one sec. So my Craigslist ad, I like a good heading. They just raised it to $45 out here, and I place it in the job section of real estate in the jobs. I do make sure that it's clarified that it's 100%. That is 100% commission. That it is deal based. I actually write in there deal and sales based. But on my ad, it says, you know, I have a money sign. It says make $1,000 a week to $10,000 a month. Potentially, I added that word to be compliant. And it says this. It says, listen, I am a local practicing real estate investor, and I'm personally looking for team members to work with me and mentor and partner with. Come surround yourself with like-minded individuals. And then I ask questions. So that kind of just says what I'm looking for. And then I say, have you ever desired to make money in real estate investing? Ever thought if you only had a partner to help you? What if you could make money weekly while you're doing deals? You could make potentially $500 to $1,000 in your first week or first month. You could even make $10,000 a month part-time. And notice I say could. I then say no experience necessary, no license required, work from home, part or full-time. You must only have a desire to make money and a passion for real estate. Then I have a call to action, which says call now. And then again, I say, please call today, my number. Get on the phone, leave your name and number twice, and a good time to call you back so we can schedule a time to meet. Scheduling a time to meet is exactly what I do. That's real. I'm going to meet them at the meeting, right? And I put serious inquiries only, please, or serious inquiries only, thanks. So you can tweak it with your own questions, 2 or 3 questions. I like to ask several questions at a time and give people options, and it confuses their mind a little bit, and they're going to come up with what they want to tell me or what they want to call for, why they want to call. And then, if you're, I lead off by being a local practicing real estate investor because that's what I am. If you haven't done the deal, you may feel uncomfortable with that. But in my opinion, you can be like my partner and I, right? If you're working with a group, wherever you guys are, you have people doing deals in your area. And you could say, hey, my partners and I are working together, doing deals every day. Did you ever think about what it would be like to work with somebody else or work with a group of people doing deals or something like that? You make it a part of you and you associate their deals with you when you tweak the ad. So, I got a call, and I was going to look at when I got the call, but I got a call, I want to say it was basically 2 weeks ago, and it was towards the end of the week. And in my mindset, you guys, I'm always thinking put the person into the Thursday night presentation first, right? What I have overcome is I'm like, whatever the next darn meeting is, they're going to. So by the time I called this individual back, he wasn't able to go to Thursday night. It was a late last-minute notice, so I booked him to a Saturday property tour, and it was one that I was doing at one of my properties. When someone calls me, always qualify for time. Hey, is the time right? What I'll do is I'll continue my day in the life next week, but for the rest of this call, I'll go on this training and walk you guys through an ad where this guy, I'm enrolling this student this week. He and his wife are a one-on-one, a follow-up on Thursday night. I was going to do a Wednesday, but he's got I've got the meeting this week on Wednesday instead of Thursday, and they're busy last night and tonight. So I'm going to walk you through this scenario and tell you that and share with you how when you put the information in front of the right person, it's a very fun time and it's a very fun process and it's a rewarding process. And with any cold market campaign, no matter if you're doing Indeed or Craigslist or roadside signs, or maybe you're buying a cold list, maybe you're calling on realtors like Michael Huggins suggests, maybe you're calling on loan officers, whatever your cold market lead, you are going to fail 99% of the time with them. And it's not your failure, it's theirs. So, he called me at the end of the week and I booked him to the property tour. When he calls, I always qualify time. Hey, and again, you've heard me say this before, but my first thing is, hey, what is your, hey, is Joe there, right? Or whatever their name is. Is John there? Is Jim there? Hey, is this Jim? And they're like, right away, it's first name. They hear their name, they like that. And then they're like, who's calling me that knows my name? Right? And I'm like, hey, man, this is Bill. And I don't say, hey, this is Bill. You called on my ad from Craigslist until later when they ask who the heck I am. Right? Hey, man, this is Bill. Do you have a couple minutes? And they're like, yeah, who is this? I'm like, hey, it's Bill. I'm just returning your call. You left me a message from an ad on Craigslist. Oh, yeah. Okay, sounds good. Cool. Is now a good time? Do you have a couple minutes? Yeah, I got a couple minutes. Now's a good time. I'm like, okay, because it sounds like you got something going on in the background. Oh, you know what? I've just got the TV on. Let me turn off the volume. All right, cool. I appreciate that. Right. So literally, I'm taking charge of the conversation because they're remembered now that they're calling off a Craigslist ad. So in their opinion, they're kind of looking for a job. So the first thing I say is, listen, why don't you tell me, right? Listen, I give a command. There's always a command. Listen, watch, look, whatever that command is, and it grabs their attention. And then from there, it's, what is it you liked about the ad, right? Why did you call? Did you call because of the money? Are you looking to get in real estate? Are you doing real estate? What's going on right now? What do you do for a living? So right there's like 3, 4, 5 questions that they can go and answer any of them. And so, you know what, I've always wanted to do real estate. I'm an engineer and I just don't want to do that for the rest of my life. I want to be able to take control of my finances, whatever their answer is, right? I'm like, great. That's awesome. And then I'm going to tell a story. Whatever they say, I'm going to remind them either of my own story, which fortunately over 10 years, I have a lot of stories to give to them of my own. But if you don't have your own story to relate to them, do your best to relate a story. Oh yeah, I felt just like you. Or, I remember when I first got into real estate, or when I first opened my own business or started my first business or whatever, this is what I was doing or whatever. So you can relate to them in some way and tell a story. And then I simply ask a few more questions, right? Why aren't you doing real estate if you know it's what you want to do? What are you looking for? Right? And the minute that I don't care what their answer is, right? And I don't have enough time anymore to go through it all the different answers and scenarios. We can do that next week. But, immediately I'm just like, that's awesome. You know what I mean? I'll relate. I'll read back what they said. I'll say back what they told me. So, you're telling me that if you could just, you've been reading some books and you've studied a few classes, you kind of got enough feel for real estate. You're thinking about getting your license. But if you really had some people that maybe, like the ad said, are doing it day in and day out, and you're kind of a hands-on guy, if you could experience that, that would make the difference for you. Is that correct? Well, yeah, that's exactly what I mean. Great, listen, that's why I placed this ad. The reason I place this ad is I share with people, my partners and I, we share with people up at our office. Every once in a while we have a little get together, a forum. I like to call it a real estate business forum. And we kind of share with you what it is that we do and how we do it and how you can do it with us, right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to invite you down to see that. What are you doing on Thursday night? How's Thursday night at 7 look? What are you doing Thursday night you can't get out, right? All those things you've always heard people say. Or I just flat out say it. Listen, Thursday night, 7 p.m., up at my office at Greyhawk, I'm going to have you come down there, and I'm going to assume that they're going to do it, right? And I'm just going to book them to that event. If there's any objection for time, I can't do it Thursday night, then I either ask them about Saturday's tour, or I'll let them know that I'm going to call them next week. Anyway, we're going to move forward. So this guy came down by himself to the tour. And what's interesting is he sat in front. I did the tour, so I made a lot of contact with him. I introduced myself to him when he came in. I walked him through the property a little bit. I actually didn't focus on him. I mean, I have a lot of people there. 40, I think there were 40 people there, 35 people there. My team had some guests, so I had to interact with a lot of different people. And so it wasn't a complete focus on them. So even if it's your first guest or your only guest in 2 weeks, introduce yourself and things like that. But you don't have to sit there and spend the whole time with them. You maybe let them know, hey, well, let's chat afterwards or whatever the case is. But, he sat in the front and I made eye contact with him. And then immediately afterwards, people came up to me and he kind of looked around. I could tell that he was waiting for me to see him. So I went over to him and, I started to engage, what did you like best about what you saw? And, did you like the environment? I really like to use the word environment. When I talk on the phone and I'm booking guests, when I do my follow-ups and I talk to people after the event, even if it's their first event, I focus on the fact that we've created an environment which enables folks to actually get together and do deals. We are in an environment where, if you think about environment, it's a hot subject, if you will. You know, when you talk about a school environment, a religious environment, a community environment where it's a certain type of culture, a certain type of growth, a certain type of interaction, and that's what we have. Yeah, I absolutely like the forum. Someone just typed in there. I always use real estate and business forum. Yep. So I use that environment, and I'm like, hey, you know, what did you like best? And he's like, you know, I really like the community, or you know, I like the group here, whatever he said. And so, you know, my next move was simply, I said, listen, I'm going to give you my personal cell phone number. If you got any questions, write them down. You know, we can talk this week, but how does next, you know, because during the forum, right, we're talking, or the property tour, we're talking about the next week's event. I always am telling people, you know, get back with the person who invited you. You're gonna come next Thursday and see a 50,000 foot overview of our company on a nice slideshow and how Renatus works and stuff like that. You're really gonna pull all these pieces of the puzzle together today from what you've seen. And so I let people foreshadow what they're going to do when I'm doing the presentation at the tour. And then I naturally just progressed right to him and said, hey, when you come next Thursday, you know, if you have any questions, you and I can chat next week. I'm going to confirm. I'll text you as soon as we leave here today. I'm going to text you the address to our office, and I'll see you next Thursday night. Listen, do you want to bring your wife? Yeah, in fact, I would love to bring my wife. So he brought his wife on Thursday night. And I knew that the interest was there, right? So he's coming again to another event. On after the tour, it wasn't about finding the money. It wasn't about, are you ready to enroll? It wasn't, you know, I'm telling him, you know, once we get you started, you know, once you see this information, you're going to want to get started, right? I'm foreshadowing that. I didn't ask for the order that particular day. I knew his wife needed to see the information, but I knew he was interested. This is a Craigslist ad, right? This is a Craigslist lead. It was the right person. And so we moved him forward to the next event. And then his wife came and they watched the Thursday night presentation. Immediately I knew, and I had about 14 people in the room. I had a couple of different guests. I had one of my team members with a guest, another team member with a guest. So I set up one guy to go talk to my one team member with the guest. And I knew, because I knew I wanted to go up to these folks right away first. And then I tell my team to just come gather around me when I'm at the meeting, when I'm focusing on a particular person's guest or my guest or whatever the case is. So everybody can benefit from what it is that I'm saying to these exact folks. So I immediately went up and sat down next to them. I didn't stand. I sat down right next to them. So they didn't even get up. They didn't have the opportunity. I prepared myself to go over to them and sit next to them and sit down. So if you're sitting next to your guest or you're in an area where you need to move over to your guest, you know, if they've already stood up, sit back down and they'll sit down with you. So the atmosphere and the situation was to sit and talk. So I began to ask questions. Of course, what did you like best? And I immediately pointed that question out to his wife because it was her first experience. And so, you know, and I'll suggest a few things. Did you like the velocity banking? Do you like the real estate or the business or the environment or the community? You know, whatever it is. And she really liked the real estate. And then he's an engineer. He had questions. So I would answer questions with stories. A few of my team members came over and sat down and listened and would chime in if I directed them to tell their story a little bit or give a little bit of an insight to how they enrolled or why they enrolled or whatever the case was. And then most of the time I was answering a few questions and moving them towards the Saturday events we had coming up, which was our Super Saturday training. They weren't interested that much in the business. We didn't touch on it much on Thursday night anyway, but there was the business side, and they're really interested in the real estate. So I said, well, you guys are going to come to the tour. The tour would be best for your wife to see that. And sure enough, they came to the tour. And we're running out of time. I can finish this up on Tuesday, or you guys can, of course, contact me. But anyway, the point is that, you know, for most people, even a cold lead, it's 3 to 5 touches. And so they came to another tour. It was his third touch, her second touch. And they're in. You know, they even on Tuesday night, or Thursday night rather, we talked about the opportunity between the combo and the advanced combo, the pricing, right? Because that was part of our presentation. They saw some of that stuff and they had a few questions. And it was I never focused on the funding. I never mentioned, how we're going to get funded. We can work to help you find the funding, anything like that. My assumption is that they're starting to already think about the funding. I will mention this, you guys. A lot of folks with Craigslist and cold leads, it's always about the funding, right? If these people would have enrolled if they had the money, if they could find the money, and that may or may not be true for some of them. But the majority is, even if they had the money, they can't understand the money. They're not there yet. They're a cold market W-2 looking for a job in a bad situation. Typically, it's a financial struggle that they're in. And they're searching Craigslist for an ad, and they're looking at an ad that says $10,000 in 1 month. They're looking at an ad that says real estate investing. They're looking at an ad that says own your own business, work from home, part-time, live your life by design, grab your freedom back, all this crap they can't even imagine. And we're advertising to them. The people that we're looking for are the A personalities. The people that we're looking for are you and me. The people that we're looking for are not the 99%. Unfortunately, we've got to get through the 99%, and it's going to make us grow. But whether or not they had the money, whether or not you find them the money, it is a difficult, long road. You are going to drip on them, and it's another training I'm going to do. You're going to drip on them. You are going to work with them, and you're going to continue to work with them and meet with them and invite them to meetings. But they are going to drain your time, and they are going to take time, and 1 out of 100 is going to enroll. But the folks like this, like Joe and his wife, they're ready, willing and able. And they are, even though they're a cold lead, they're still looking for a change, and they have the means. And even if it is going to be about the money for them, they still have had a couple questions about the funding on Saturday at the second property tour, the third exposure. We did talk a little bit about the money. I'm telling them, listen, make sure that you're starting to think about where you're going to get the funding. Start thinking about the resources that you would use if you had to borrow $20,000 in a life and death situation, whatever I'm saying, or if you had to buy a new car, whatever it is. Think about what you would use to make that happen, right? And then we'll worry about finding the funding together, right? But what I'm getting at is a lot of the folks in Craigslist and in cold market leads, whether or not you can find them the money, it still doesn't mean they're going to pull the trigger. Most of them can't imagine finding that kind of money or spending that kind of money, even if you did find that kind of money, even if they had it in their retirement. And it's a much longer road. The right person is going to go through 3 to 4 or 5 exposures, including a one-on-one, a 3-way call with your affiliate, your 5-star, or a 3-way call with someone that you just bring in on to tell a story. And they're going to then be ready to move forward. And it's not a matter of spending the next 2 to 3 or 5 months trying to find the funding. It's literally going to be deciding which way to fund it, which is going to be the best option for them, which is going to be the least exposure to them, which is going to be the least expensive way for them to fund it and all that. With that, you guys, it's 8 o'clock. It's 8:01. I will tie back in next week. I'll go a little bit more. I only got into, I didn't even start my day really of work in my day in the life. And I wanted to really, I'll give you the outcome of this enrollment this week. It's going to be, a cash combo or a cash advance combo. I haven't really even taken the time to upgrade them before they purchase yet. So I'll be spending that time with them on Thursday night when I talk to them. They're good folks. They're single. They're young. They're in their late 20s and early 30s together. And it's exciting. It's exciting to place another order again, and placing an order almost every month. And a lot of it comes from cold leads, and a lot of it comes from my team. But you've got to have a lead. You've got to have someone to call. And if you don't, every single day, pick up the phone, look in your phone while you're at the stoplight or whatever you're doing, and pick somebody out of your phone that you can shoot a text message to, or that you can make a quick call and say, hey, I know I invited you to that meeting 3 months ago or 6 months ago or last week. Why don't you go tonight? Why don't you come this Thursday? Whatever. At least make the point to do it. All right, I'm losing people because it's after 8. You guys, with that, I appreciate your time. I hope this was helpful. I'm going to type in my cell phone number again, and I should do that earlier. 760-533-3141. Everybody's got it. Right on. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you being here. It's awesome. Make it a great day. Make it a great week. Enjoy the meetings coming up this week. And I'll talk to you guys next week. You guys are awesome. With that, I guess I will end the meeting. Thanks for your time, folks. Have a great, great day.